For example, on these socialism and communism pages, for years there was no mention of the millions killed by socialism and communism. None. And even now.
Deep in the article, it's kind of treated as something of an arcane academic debate, but we're talking about mass murder.
Let's actually read that Wikipedia page that Stossel is quoting from. Many authors have written about excess deaths under communist states and mortality rates, such as excess mortality in the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. Some authors posit that there is a communist death toll, whose death estimates vary widely depending on the definition of the deaths that are included in them, ranging from the lows of 10 to 20 million to highs over 100 million. The higher estimates have been criticized by several scholars as ideologically motivated and inflated. They are also criticized for being inaccurate due to incomplete data, inflated by counting any excess deaths, ignoring lives saved by communist modernization, making an unwarranted link to communism, and the grouping and body counting itself. Higher estimates account for the actions that communist governments committed against civilians, including executions, man-made famines, and deaths that occurred during or resulted from imprisonment and forced deportation and labor. Higher estimates are criticized for being based on sparse and incomplete data when significant errors are inevitable, skewed to higher possible values, and victims of civil wars, the Holodomor, and other famines and war-related events should not be included. There is no consensus among genocide scholars and scholars of communism about whether some or all of the events constituted a mass killing. There is also no consensus on a common terminology, and the events have been variously referred to as excess mortality or mass deaths. Other terms used to define some of such killings include classicide, crimes against humanity, democide, genocide, politicide, holocaust, and repression. Scholars state that most communist states did not engage in mass killings. Some in particular, such as Benjamin Valentino, proposed the category of communist mass killings alongside colonial counter-guerrilla and ethnic mass killings as a subtype of dispositive mass killings to distinguish it from coercive mass killings. Scholars do not consider ideology or regime type as an important factor that explains mass killings. The article isn't saying that there weren't any deaths under communist governments. What it is saying is that there is a debate among scholars over if deaths done by authoritarian governments, sometimes very much intentionally, might I add, can be blamed on the political or economic philosophy of communism. Wikipedia has articles on both mass killings under communist regimes and crimes against humanity under communist regimes, as well as articles on Holodomor, the famine in the Soviet Union, the Great Leap Forward that occurred under Mao's China, and Chernobyl. However, again, would it be fair to use the explosion of a nuclear power plant as an example of deaths under an economic and political philosophy? Would it be fair to blame politically motivated killings done under people like Franco and Pinochet on capitalism? For that matter, would it be fair to blame the various crimes against humanity done by authoritarian governments in South Korea for about 3 decades on capitalism? That is the question fundamentally being asked here. It's not pro-communist bias, it's called nuance.